Hi, Kylie. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your week one writing assignment. First off, your formatting looks good. Your heading looks very professional. Don't forget to include your header over here in the upper right hand corner, your last name and page number. Remember, there's a tutorial on formatting in MLA located in the resources folder. So if you need some help with creating a header, it's there for you. So I think that you have a good handle on what Orwell is trying to say. And it's clear that you have a good handle on some of the key moments in the text that help us recognize what Orwell is trying to say. Here's what I want you to work on. I want you to work on capturing that more clearly and succinctly for the reader. So one thing to do is pay attention to the phrasing in your sentences. So you say, this essay that George Orwell wrote called A Hanging has a deep meaning behind the point Orwell is trying to reach to the readers. So I think what you're trying to say there is, well, you're trying to introduce the text, right, to the audience, and you're also trying to say that it has a deep meaning, but there's a lot of unnecessary phrasing that makes the sentence kind of clunky, and it hides your meaning, right? So it makes it more difficult for the reader to be able to uncover what you're trying to say. So one thing to work on, particularly in your sentences, is the concept of concision. And that essentially means that you say the idea as concisely as you can. So that essentially means in as few, if I can spell, few words as possible. So here I might start like, this is probably not necessary, right? I would just start with something like, in George Orwell's A Hanging, the author suggests a deep meaning or something like that, right? To the readers is probably not necessary as well. This next sentence, you say the controversy throughout his writing is focused on the idea of a prison man who is being put to death. That's a little more clear, but here I'm lost because I can't understand what the controversy is. Does that make sense? So controversy always suggests a conflict. And in this sentence, it's really not clear what the conflict is. I think you do finally illustrate what the conflict is all the way down here at the bottom. But when you write, readers prefer like ideas to be in the same section. Otherwise, it kind of feels like repetition, and the reader will kind of get whiplash. So I think state more clearly what the controversy is. So essentially, the controversy is these guards are forced to put someone to death, but they don't agree with it, or at least not the narrator, right? At least the narrator doesn't agree with it. That's what the controversy is. He feels forced to do this, and yet he doesn't agree with it. So does that make sense? How I love the idea that you're introducing controversy. You just didn't capture it here. Here's another example of a sentence that I think has good ideas in it. So I see what you're trying to do there. You want to talk about literary devices. I can see that you're trying to do that, but this sentence is not quite there yet. So something that I want you to think about in terms of concision, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link on concise sentences. What I want you to try to work on is having really concrete subjects at the beginning of your sentence, followed by active verbs. I think doing this is going to help out quite a bit. So instead of saying the language throughout his writing, this would be far more clear if you said Orwell's use of emotional, emotional language. Sorry, I'm illustrating how terribly I am at typing sometimes. Use of emotional language suggests his argument. You know, dot dot dot. Does that make sense what I'm doing here? So let me help explain. I put Orwell at the beginning of the sentence, right? Instead of just letting the language come first and then his writing comes second. So what I've used is a really concrete subject that makes the idea far more immediate to the audience. So to recap, I think that you understand the text. That's clear. And I think that you understand the key moments of the text. I think the thing that I want you to focus on is capturing your ideas more clearly and concisely for the reader. So here's something for you to do. Here's a good strategy. Write how you would normally write, right? So, I mean, if you just sit down and type and you can get all this out, perfect. Continue to do this. But before you submit it, read your paper out loud and start to read for what I call awkward sentences. And that essentially means that there are promising ideas in the sentence, but they just need a little bit of tweaking before the final submission so the reader can understand those eyes. Awkward sentences happen to everybody, myself included, but it's taking that extra step to go back and pull out the handful that are most awkward and trying to more clearly and concisely capture what you mean. I think that you can do it. And like I said, I think that your ideas in here are good. They're the most important ideas to talk about. And I think they're valid as well. But it's just capturing them more clearly so the reader could understand your ideas with ease. And let me send you something on concision and sentences as well. All right, thanks.